So, hello. Today I'm going to be doing a Think Aloud with Maya Angelou's text A Day Away. I have asked the class to come prepared with their text already annotated, and so I'm going to go through the process with my class of how I went through and annotated the text and the inner dialogue that went on as I was reading the text to make the most meaning and connections to this text, to my own life, and to other texts that we have read. So, class, let's go ahead and take out our copy of A Day Away by Maya Angelou. What I want to look at before we even go too deeply into the text is to take a look at the title. I think the title really can set us off in the right direction. It gives us many clues as to what the text might be discussing. A day away. I think to myself, what does that mean? What is a day away? It sounds like a vacation to me. So perhaps she's talking about a mini vacation. Perhaps she's stating that a vacation can exist in one day, and she's going to show us how you can extract meaning and repose from one day. The next thing I look at is the author. The author is Maya Angelou. I know that's an author that has come up before in this class, and I want to reflect on her work because that's going to indicate what we're going to extract out of this text as well. Her work is known for being very poetic. She uses quite a lot of figurative language. She's quite well known for I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, for producing that text. And she's also known, which I learned after reading this text, that she was the first African American woman to actually script a television movie. With that in mind, I'm going to take that knowledge of, yes, I'm reading an African American's work, knowing that she has a strong poetic background. So I think already that in the title and from the author that this is going to be a very figurative piece of literature. There's going to be a lot of metaphor and a lot of underlying meanings that I can extract deeper meanings from. So as I started the text, I look at the first passage. I'll go ahead and read that aloud, and I'll tell you the thoughts that went through my mind as I read this first paragraph. Remember, the first paragraph is the hook. It's the hook to get the reader intrigued, get the reader interested, engaged, and let's see if she manages to do that, okay? So A Day Away by Maya Angelou. We often think that our affairs, great or small, must be tended continuously and in detail, or our world will disintegrate and we will lose our places in the universe. That is not true, or if it is true, then our situations were so temporary that they would have collapsed anyway. So there's a lot of information in that first paragraph. There's a lot to dissect and understand. So I want to break it down into small pieces. The first sentence: we often think that our affairs, great or small, must be tended continuously and in detail, or our world will disintegrate. What does she mean by our affairs? When I think about our affairs, I think she's meaning our lives, because our lives are composed of many small and great moments, and she's reflecting on the fact that if we don't take care of each and every moment, perhaps our world would collapse, or at least that's what we are expected to think, because we are so deeply involved in our own experience that we don't have the opportunity to look outside of it. So those are the thoughts that are running through my head so far as I read just that first line. Then I follow that through and see that she says, and we will lose our places in the universe. That's a pretty strong statement. So she's starting off with a very strong hook, and she looks like she's stating a very strong claim. I also look at the vocabulary. Again, as I annotate text, as I read text, I dialogue with it, not only internally, but I do kind of write up on the page everything that's going through my head. I look at the word tended continuously too. I make sure that I understand that verbal expression. What is to tend something? I think of, oh, it means to tend to the garden. What does tend to the garden mean? Oh, it means to take care of the garden. So to tend to means to take care of something. If I have further questions about that vocabulary word, I would probably seek out the help of a dictionary. I would try to find some other meanings and see if I'm applying it in the right way. Then I would look at the next sentence. That is not true, or if it is true, then our situations were so temporary that they would have collapsed anyway. She's making a very strong claim in that opening paragraph. She's stating that our lives do not rest, or that our existence in our lives can still exist in our absence, that there is more to it than our presence at every single moment. Otherwise, they would have collapsed. So she's telling us that yes, we tend to take our lives a little bit too seriously, so much so that we think if we're absent from it for one moment that everything would fall apart and have no meaning. She doesn't want to give those small moments that sort of weight and energy. She believes that there is a deeper resonance and meaning than simply in our everyday affairs and life. So that's how I would begin to approach that first opening paragraph. Taking that information, I again return to the title and I think a day away, okay, with that information that I have from the first paragraph, applying that to the title, where do I think this passage is going? What is she arguing for? She starts out with a very strong argument saying that we can leave our lives for a short moment and they won't collapse. They will still be with us. So I continue on. She's intrigued me. She's definitely hooked me as a reader, as a listener. I want to know where she's going with this, especially because that title alludes to the fact that she's going to fight for the idea that we all need to take a day away. Next paragraph. Once a year or so, I give myself a day away. Aha. She launches right into not only the meaning of this passage, but she's also justifying that very strong opening paragraph as to why we are allowed to remove ourselves from our lives. Already I'm connecting to this piece when I see once a year or so I give myself a day away. I think of my own vacations. How do I give myself a break? Do I give myself a full day away? Or do I just give myself moments away from my life? Do I give myself breaks? Do I give myself moments to read or do things that are important to me? I begin to apply the text to my life and make it a little bit more personal because it not only excites me more as a reader, but it also wants, it initiates a curiosity to keep reading as well. I also begin to think of other texts that I might compare this piece to already. Again, we're only a paragraph and one sentence into this short story, and already I'm drawing parallels, I'm drawing connections. I'm thinking of the text that we're reading right now in our class, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, and thinking of Oscar, the main character, and how he not only gives himself a day away, but he gives himself several days away in searching for his father and searching for answers and searching for himself. And I feel like perhaps that's the argument that she's going to make. Perhaps there's some deeper universal themes here that she's going to help us visit and explore. So the next line, on the eve of my day of absence, I begin to unwrap the bonds which hold me harness. There I get a little stuck. I get stuck in imagery, in fact. I might get stuck if I don't know that expression and if I don't identify that as figurative language, that Maya Angelou is using a metaphor. Can a human being be wrapped in bonds in a harness? No, I think of a harness on a horse. Yeah, a horse wears a harness, meaning that they're controlled by someone else. There's a greater master that controls them. And I think, is there a greater master that controls me? Essentially, no, but it might be my thoughts that control me. It might be the idea that there are these other things that hold me down. But again, that's only in my mind. And she's using that language figuratively to express that she begins to unwrap the bonds which hold her in harness. And I like that visual. I think that really allows me to see her freeing herself for her day away, for her day for herself, basically. So that is my think aloud for now. I hope that helps, and I could continue for minutes and minutes and minutes, but it will go on forever. So thank you so much.